everybody, it's Lisa A Romano, the Breakthrough Life Coach. In my opinion, the only way to heal anything is to elevate your conscious around that thing, because that thing is probably tied to the way that you're thinking, tied to the way that you're feeling, tied to the way that you're believing. And everything that outputs in the external world is a result of what's happening on the inside. As it is within, so it is on the outside, right? So when you open up a jug of milk, what do you pour out? You pour out milk, right? You don't pour out wine. So it's important that we develop this mindset around being able to be objective about what's rolling around in our head. If we're not going to be objective about what's rolling around in our head, and we just believe everything that is in our head, then we need to be super careful, because feelings are not facts and opinions are not facts, and expectations, well, they become facts because you actually see in the external world what you expect to see. So I think that once we start having these conversations about consciousness in the context of narcissistic abuse, in the context of codependency recovery, and the context of healing childhood trauma and neglect and attachment disorder and family of origin issues, once we blend the concept of consciousness with these other concepts, then I think it takes on a whole new you. It's like, oh, okay, right. That's what I should have been doing instead of focusing on this. It's not just about setting boundaries and cutting people out of my life. It's about thinking differently. It's about perceiving life differently. And when you take that level of accountability for yourself, like, nobody can be the boss of you. And I find that exciting. So I want to get to your questions right away. I have been on an SSRI antidepressant for over a decade. Now that I am into the healing journey, I wonder if I should think about weaning off them to see how I would feel with doctor's consent. Oh, okay. Originally, when I read your comment, Kimberly, I thought it said without doctor's consent. So, see, I'm so glad I reread it. So, I think that it's something that you want to talk about with your doctor. And again, it's about having a conscious conversation, an honest conversation about where you are. From what I know about certain antidepressants, they do affect the way that you think. And the way that you think affects the way that you feel. And the way that you feel is everything. Because the way that you feel, you emit a vibration about into the conscious or into the creative field, right? So how you feel is everything. So you want to be careful and objective. And if you're able to maintain that level of objectivity with your medication, and you're able to notice, like, where are my thoughts going? In other words, like, you're not believing your thoughts 100%, you're not attaching to your thoughts 100%. You're really able to observe them from outside the mind. So you're able to distinguish what quality of thoughts that you have, right? So it's really important. We want to make sure that if before you do anything, you're feeling super confident that for instance, like, okay, so you wake up on Monday and you have a pretty calm day, right? And I'm somebody who believes that the right medication can change your world. The right medication can calm you down. The right medication can bring you into alignment with what you really want and reduce a lot of anxiety and tension in your mind and in your body, and just help with this excess stuff that you don't need, right? So I'm not against the right medication for the right person under the right circumstances. That being said, I get why you might want to experiment. Now that you're getting a handle on some emotional tools, you might want to experiment with weaning yourself off. I get that, as long as you're able to be objective. So Monday, I'm having a really good day. On Tuesday, you know what? I noticed that I had repetitive thoughts, or oh wow, that was a really deep, dark thought. Where'd that come from, right? So as long as you can be objective about your thoughts and not attached to them, then I think you might be able to experiment with that under doctor's care. The last thing that you want to do is, and remember what we're trying to achieve here on the healing journey. And those of you who have taken the 12-week class, the 8-week master class, and now the 10-week soul school, so cool. The journey is so cool, because you go from being unaware to on the path to enlightenment, right? And spiritual oneness, and no longer feeling separate from everything. So it's a really cool journey, the 3 courses. what we're learning in all those 3 courses is to let go of ego concepts more and more and more and more and more until we finally are able to understand them as they relate to the quantum science or the nature of reality. And so I don't want you to forget, Kimberly, what we're trying to achieve. What we're trying to achieve is a certain level of detached awareness regarding our thoughts. And so if you feel confident in that, I think it's worth a conversation with your doctor. Thank you so much, Lisa, for everything. I'm struggling with a low energy stalker, long story. I struggle to hang on to my energy when I see him. I work in a public access environment. I don't think I am in danger. I recover from the negative spiral better and faster these days. Thank you. And looking back, my intuition tried to warn me, but my programming overrode that information. Big people pleaser. Wondering if you have tips for recognizing when your intuition is speaking and trusting that information at the outset. Well, I think it's important, Rhonda, that we recognize that codependency is subconscious and people pleasing is a subconscious manifestation of being afraid to set a boundary, being afraid that your voice doesn't matter, being afraid of making people angry, being afraid of losing control. Like, if I don't do what this person wants me to do or behave the way this person wants me to behave, they might get angry, and what are they going to do? So it's really, we have this underlying anxiety, but people pleasing and kind of like anticipating the needs even of a stalker. Like, I was in a similar situation at one of my work environments. Every fiber in my being was telling me no. But what did I do? Okay, thanks for the coffee. Okay, thanks for the bagel. Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay, thanks. I just, until I got so upset and became so suffocated that I was just like, I had no tolerance anymore. So I get what you're saying. I've been in this situation many times where my gut was telling me no, even about a friend, like, don't do that, don't go there, don't offer that. And I did it anyway. We're learning, right? We're learning. And so, in terms of your specific question about how do you know if it's your intuition, even if you're codependent and you're getting the intuition, we all get that intuition, we ignore it, right? So, it's not like the intuition isn't there. You're going to get a feeling in your gut, or your heart space is going to feel like it's clenching, or you're just going to feel like an energetic, like, pushed you back, like, or you're going to do a double take when someone says something, or you're going to feel like, oh, and your throat chakra is going to be like closed. Like, there are signs that happen within your body where your body is telling you this is not a good idea, right? But we don't listen. So in terms of when you're trying to, if you have any tips for recognizing when your intuition is speaking and trusting that information at the outset, I think that becoming, and this is all part of the journey, we're trying to become so, bring our awareness so back into the self, so cognizant of where our thoughts are going. And it's going to happen. Your thoughts go towards this thing or that thing, but being aware that, oh, my mind just went. Let me bring it back to what I want to think about. Right. So you're getting better at practicing. Oh, where did my mind go? Oh, let me bring it back. Right. It wasn't in alignment right now with what I want. I was thinking about that stupid show I watched on Netflix, that horrible movie. Why did I watch that? I really want to be thinking about that new car that I want to get, or that dress that I'd like to buy, or paying for my kids' college. Or I'd like to be thinking about that instead of this. You're just getting really, really aware of that, right? So as that's happening, at which is metacognition, as you're getting better skilled at metacognition, then what will happen is you're going to start to feel so much more connected to your inner self, like the nuances of your soul, like what you feel moment to moment. And that's what we want. Because as codependents, we're not in our bodies. We're in our head thinking about what the other person wants, and we're acting out of programming, out of fear, right? But we don't know that. And so we're bringing all of our awareness over time back to the self. What do I feel? What do I feel? If you haven't done the 1, 2, 3 process, it's in the membership. Check it out. And this is a life skill healthy people have, that those of us who are raised to disown ourselves, we don't have. But the good news is we can teach it to ourselves, right? Really, really important. So now, as you're bringing your awareness back to yourself, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, does this impulse feel like it's a negative, or does it feel like it's a positive? Does this impulse feel like it's protecting me, or is it throwing me to the lions? All right. Now, the other thing that you'll notice about intuition, intuition is always on your side. Intuition is always going to choose you. Intuition doesn't care if the other person gets pissed off, right? So when you feel a gut instinct to not do something, first of all, you have to notice that, then you have to trust it, then you have to act on it, right? So the 1, 2, 3 process is going to help you cultivate that, accept how you feel what you feel in your body, decide what you're going to do about it. Ask yourself, what can I control? What can't I control? And ultimately, what decision am I going to make that's in alignment with my more desired outcome? So if I want peace and my sister, I always use this analogy. If I want peace in my life, but my sister just bought this puppy and now she wants me to watch it over the weekend and I had plans, right? That just I can't control that she asked me, but I can control whether or not I say yes or no. And ultimately what I want is a peaceful weekend. So I'm going to say no to my sister, right? Because I'm going to honor myself, because honoring myself is what I want long term and peace is what I want long term. Even if she gets upset, it's not my fault she bought a puppy. It's not my fault that, she just assumes that I'm going to watch the dog. So you'll have this intuition. So you have to start getting really, really innately connected with your intuition and your feelings. So you can ask yourself with your mental mind, is this abundance or is this lack? Is this scarcity? Is this self-protection? Does this feel like it's self-protective, or is this codependency? You want to start asking yourself those questions. The more asking yourself these questions, it will save your sanity because all the answers are in there. All the answers are in there. I think that those people who are not asking themselves questions, they never grow. So try this. What we want to get in the habit of doing is staying out of denial. We want to get better at bringing our awareness into our heart space, what we're really feeling. If you're overeating, if you're watching way too much television, if you're sleeping too much or not enough, if what you're saying is like, wow, I'm doing some late night online shopping, you want to know that that's so far out of your norm that it makes you curious, like an emotional Sherlock Holmes. What's going on with me? Right? And you have a little old fashioned therapy session with yourself. What are you trying to avoid? We have to get better at embracing the difficult emotions. And I think the most resilient of us on planet Earth are those that were like emotional Marines. We want to know exactly what's pissing us off. We want to know exactly what's upsetting us. Now, there are some people on planet Earth that just get pissed off and you end up walking around on eggshells around them. I've been around people like that and I've been that person too, where I wasn't as emotionally regulated and I wasn't as emotionally resilient and as emotionally honest, and things were pissing me off and I was all up in my head, and I was just angry. And if I was angry, people left me alone. It was a great defense. It was like a puffer fish that, you puff up really big and you make yourself look bigger than you really are. It's just, I just didn't want to be bothered by anybody. So if I act like I'm really hostile and irritated, then everybody will leave me alone. It's really immature, right? And it's dysfunctional. It makes you sick. It raises your blood pressure, it raises cortisol, and people think you're nasty, and you become unapproachable, right? And you're ornery. It works, but it's not healthy. And so what we're trying to do here is get super, super conscious about what we feel, and we look at it and we run it out. What's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that happens? Now, why is it so important? Because once you run out the worst case scenario, your brain has a schema for the worst case scenario. And now it's not so afraid of the unfamiliar anymore. And what happens psychologically is like, oh, okay, well, if that happens, that happens. I'm not in control over it. So now you're not neurotically looking for a way to avoid that outcome, right? So, oh, I don't want my mother's friends to talk about me. So, I better do everything I can to like not upset them, right? Because the worst thing is that they talk about me, right? So if I'm trying to, here is that fear, that underlying fear that people are going to talk about me, and I'm not looking at it. I'm trying to control it, and I'm going to try to control my mother's friends. So I'm going to go overdo it for them and people please and enable, right? And caretake and rescue and fix. Who knows what else I might do for them just so they don't talk about me. So my brain thinks the worst thing in the world is for them to talk about me. So at a subconscious level, I'm trying to control that, which is so dysfunctional. Whereas instead, if I go, what's the worst thing that can happen? They talk about me. Okay, that's the worst thing that can happen. That's the worst thing that can happen. Right now, I have no resistance around it. My subconscious mind is not trying to control it. And now it's okay if people talk about me. And guess what? It's over like that. Everybody spends 15 minutes in the hot seat. I don't care who you are. You know what? You're going to have times in your life where your 15 minutes in the hot seat is coming. And if you could just accept that and understand that there's learning happening if you allow it, and you just let it happen, you just let it happen, and you just accept what's going to happen in this situation, right? And you don't resist it, you're going to come out of it a lot faster if you don't try to control it, if you don't try to resist it. So I hope that this has been beneficial. Thank you so much for showing up with me.
Hey, if you love this content, don't forget to check out the next video, and you can go to my website and take the codependency quiz.